The November wind cut through downtown Seattle, carrying the smell of rain and exhaust. Victoria Chen stood outside the gleaming headquarters of Chen Industries, dressed in layers of worn clothing she'd purchased from a thrift store that morning. Her hair, usually styled in a sleek bun, hung loose and unkempt beneath a stained baseball cap. She carried a cardboard sign that read, "Anything helps, God bless." She'd been standing there for 20 minutes, watching her own employees stream past her into the building. Not one had looked her in the eye. Victoria had built Chen Industries from a small tech startup into a billion-dollar empire over 15 years. She knew every inch of that building, every department, every policy in the employee handbook. But lately, she'd been hearing rumors, whispers that the culture she'd worked so hard to create, one of compassion, innovation, and humanity, was rotting from the inside, that her managers had grown cold, that her people had forgotten what it meant to see other people. So she'd decided to find out for herself. She watched a young woman in a Chen Industries badge hurry past, phone pressed to her ear, eyes sliding away when Victoria shifted the cardboard sign. A group of men in suits stepped around her without breaking their conversation about quarterly projections. A security guard she'd personally hired 3 years ago walked right by, his face blank. The rain started, light at first, then heavier. Victoria pulled the thin jacket tighter. The cold was real, biting through the inadequate layers. For the first time in years, she felt invisible, powerless. The realization settled in her chest like a stone. 3 blocks away, Marcus Webb was having the kind of morning that made him question every decision that had led him to this moment. "Daddy, my shoe's untied again." He crouched on the crowded sidewalk, rain beginning to spot his daughter's pink jacket, and tied Lily's sneaker for the 3rd time that morning. At 5 years old, she hadn't quite mastered the bunny ear method he'd tried to teach her. "There you go, Peanut." He stood, taking her small hand in his. "We gotta move fast, okay? Daddy's already late." "Again?" Lily looked up at him with those wide brown eyes that could make him feel like both the worst and best father in the world. "Yeah, again." Marcus checked his watch. The bus had been delayed, and now he had exactly 12 minutes to drop Lily at kindergarten and make it to his shift at Chen Industries. He was a custodian on the night crew, but they'd called him in for emergency day coverage. He needed this job. Single father, no degree, medical bills from Lily's asthma treatments last year still piling up. He couldn't afford another write-up for tardiness. They hurried down the sidewalk, Lily's little legs working double time to keep up. She was chattering about something her friend Emma had said about unicorns, her voice bright despite the dreary morning. That was Lily's gift. She could find light anywhere. "Daddy, look." Lily stopped abruptly, pulling on his hand. "Baby, we can't stop. We're really late." "But Daddy, that lady's cold." Marcus followed her gaze. On the corner ahead, near the Chen Industries building, a woman sat on the ground, hunched against the wind. Cardboard sign, layers of ragged clothing, the whole heartbreaking picture. "I know, sweetheart, but we have to—" Lily was already pulling away from him, digging into the small backpack she wore. Before Marcus could stop her, she'd run up to the woman. "Here," Lily said, holding out something in her small fist. "You can have my snack money. It's $3. Miss Jennifer says that's enough for a sandwich." Victoria looked up at the child standing before her, rain darkening her pink jacket. The little girl couldn't have been more than 5, with 2 uneven pigtails and a gap-toothed smile. She was holding out 3 crumpled dollar bills. For a moment, Victoria couldn't speak. In 45 minutes of standing in the rain, watching hundreds of people pass by, her own people, people who earned good salaries in a building with her name on it, this child was the first person to stop. "Oh, honey, you don't have to," Victoria started, her voice rougher than she'd intended. "But you're cold and hungry, probably." Lily pressed the money forward. "It's okay. I can have crackers at snack time instead." A man rushed up behind the girl, tall, lean, with tired eyes and a worn jacket that had seen better winters. "Lily, you can't just—" He stopped, taking in the scene. Embarrassment and apology flooded his face. "I'm so sorry, Mom. She just ran over before I could—" "Please," Lily insisted, still holding out the money. "Take it." Victoria's throat tightened. She reached out and gently closed the child's fingers around the bills. "You're very kind, But you keep that for your snack, sweetheart. What you just did, stopping, seeing me, that's worth more than money." The man, the girl's father, clearly, looked at Victoria with an expression she couldn't quite read. Shame, maybe, that his daughter was giving away money they probably needed themselves. But something else too, a kind of quiet dignity. "Come on, Lily," he said softly. "We're late." "But Daddy, you did a good thing," he told her, squeezing her shoulder. "But we need to go." As they turned to leave, Lily looked back and waved. Victoria lifted her hand, watching them disappear into the crowd. The little girl skipped to keep up with her father's long strides, still chattering away, the $3 clutched in her hand. Victoria sat there for another 20 minutes in the rain. 47 more employees passed her. Not one stopped, not one even looked. She'd learned everything she needed to know. Marcus barely made it to the building in time. After dropping Lily at school 5 minutes late, earning a disapproving look from the teacher, he'd sprinted the 6 blocks to Chen Industries, arriving breathless and damp. The day shift supervisor, a thin-lipped woman named Margaret, checked her watch pointedly when he rushed in. "Cutting it close. Webb. I know. I'm sorry. Bus was delayed and I've heard the excuses." She handed him a work order. "Executive floor. The quarterly board meeting is this afternoon, and they want everything perfect. You've got 3 hours." Marcus took the paper, nodded, and headed for the service elevator. The executive floor. He'd only been up there once in his 8 months at Chen Industries, covering for someone else. It was a different world up there. Floor-to-ceiling windows, art that probably cost more than his annual salary, silence so thick you could feel it. He spent the morning working methodically, vacuuming the conference room, polishing the massive table, cleaning windows, checking that the executive kitchen was stocked. The work was familiar, meditative. It gave him time to think about Lily's gesture that morning. She had such a big heart. Too big sometimes. He worried about that, about raising a daughter who thought she could save everyone. The world would break a heart like that, but maybe that was just his own fear talking, his own scars. He'd been a single parent since Lily was 6 months old. Her mother, Jessica, had left when the reality of parenthood overwhelmed the romance of it. Just packed a bag one Tuesday and didn't come back. For a long time, Marcus had been angry about that. But now, 5 years later, he mostly felt tired. Tired and determined to give Lily the best life he could, even if it meant working nights and weekends, even if it meant they ate mac and cheese 4 times a week, even if it meant he couldn't remember the last time he'd done something just for himself. "Excuse me." Marcus turned. A woman stood in the doorway of the conference room. She wore an expensive-looking charcoal suit, her dark hair pulled back, everything about her radiating authority and wealth. She looked familiar somehow, but he couldn't place her. "Yes, ma'am? I need the room prepared for a meeting in an hour. Can you make sure the temperature is set to 68 degrees and there's sparkling water in addition to still?" "Of course," Marcus nodded, already moving toward the thermostat. The woman watched him for a moment. "What's your name?" "Marcus Webb, ma'am." "You have a daughter, Marcus." He froze, turning to look at her. It wasn't a question. Yes. How did you... I saw you this morning downtown with a little girl in a pink jacket." Recognition hit him like cold water, the woman from the corner. But she looked completely different now, not just the clothes, but the way she held herself, the authority in her posture. And now that he was really looking at her face, "You're Victoria Chen," he said, the words coming out barely above a whisper. "The founder and CEO of Chen Industries, the woman whose face was on the cover of Fortune magazine last month, one of the richest people in Seattle. She'd been the homeless woman on the corner, the one Lily had tried to give money to." Victoria smiled slightly. We didn't recognize." Marcus felt heat creeping up his neck. "Ma'am, I'm sorry if my daughter bothered you. She's very empathetic, sometimes too much. And your daughter," Victoria interrupted, "was the only person who stopped. In almost an hour of standing there, watching hundreds of people walk past, many of them my own employees, she was the only one who saw me as a person who needed help." Marcus didn't know what to say to that. He thought about all the times he'd hurried past people on the street, telling himself he was too busy, too broke, too tired. The times he'd taught Lily to keep her eyes forward, to not engage, And yet this morning she'd run straight towards someone in need, $3 clutched in her hand like it was a fortune. "She has a good heart," he finally said. "She does." Victoria walked further into the room, her heels clicking on the polished floor. "And what about you, Marcus? Do you have a good heart?" The question felt like a test, like there was a right answer and a wrong one, and his job might depend on which he gave. "I try to teach her to be kind," he said carefully, "to see people. Sometimes that's hard, when you're in a hurry or worried about making ends meet, but yeah, I try." Victoria nodded slowly. She was quiet for a moment, looking out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the Seattle skyline. Rain streaked the glass. "I built this company on certain values," she said. "Compassion, innovation, the belief that how we treat people, all people, matters more than profit margins. Lately, I've been hearing that we've lost that the culture here has become cold, corporate. So I decided to see for myself. That's why you were dressed like someone the world doesn't see, yes?" She turned back to him. "I wanted to know if my people would stop. If they'd remember that everyone they pass on the street is someone's daughter, someone's father. If they'd remember their humanity." Marcus thought about the employees he'd seen rushing past that morning, eyes down, phones out. He thought about the way Margaret spoke to the cleaning crew, like they were invisible. The way some of the executives walked past him in the hallways without acknowledgement. "And they didn't," he said quietly. "No, they didn't." Victoria's expression was unreadable. "But your daughter did." The board meeting that afternoon was tense. Victoria sat at the head of the table, listening to her executive team present quarterly reports, market analyses, projections. The numbers were good. Profits were up, stock prices climbing. Everything looked perfect on paper. But she kept thinking about the rain, the cold pavement, the hundreds of faces that had looked through her like she was invisible. "We need to discuss the cost-cutting measures for next quarter," her CFO was saying. "Specifically, the proposal to outsource custodial services. We could save approximately $700,000 annually." "No," Victoria said. The room went quiet. Her CFO blinked. Ma'am, we're not outsourcing custodial. In fact, we're increasing wages for all facilities staff by 15%, effective immediately." "Ms. Chen, with all due respect, that's not fiscally—" "I don't care." Victoria leaned forward. "I've been watching how we treat the people who keep this building running. The people who empty our trash and clean our offices and maintain our spaces. They're invisible to us, and that stops now." Her COO cleared his throat. "Victoria, this is a very emotional response to what? To discovering that the values I built this company on have been abandoned. That we've become exactly the kind of corporation I swore we'd never be." She looked around the table at the uncomfortable faces. "This morning, I stood outside this building dressed as a homeless person. For almost an hour, hundreds of our employees walked past me. Not one stopped. Not one even made eye contact. That's not really fair," someone started. "People are busy. They have places to be." A 5-year-old child stopped. Victoria cut in. "A little girl who was late for school, whose father was late for work, who probably needed that $3 more than most people in this room need their next paycheck." She stopped. She saw me. She tried to help. Her voice hardened. "If a kindergartner can remember her humanity on a rainy Tuesday morning, then so can we." The silence that followed was thick with tension. Victoria knew what they were thinking, that she was being irrational, sentimental, that this was bad business and she didn't care. "We're implementing a new company-wide initiative," she announced. "Starting next month, every employee from entry-level to executive will spend 1 day per quarter volunteering at local shelters, food banks, and community centers. It won't be optional. It will be part of performance reviews." "Victoria, additionally, we're creating a compassion fund, $5 million annually for employee-driven charitable projects. Any staff member can apply for grants to support causes they care about." She looked at each face around the table. "We're going to remember what it means to be human, all of us." The meeting ended in murmured resistance, but Victoria had made her decision. As her executives filed out, looking shell-shocked, she remained seated, staring out at the city below. She thought about Marcus Webb, about the tired lines around his eyes, the careful way he'd apologized for his daughter's kindness, the dignity he'd maintained even when clearly embarrassed, about the little girl with uneven pigtails and a heart too big for the world to contain. They'd reminded her of something she'd almost forgotten, that wealth and power meant nothing if you couldn't see the people around you, that the measure of a person or a company was how they treated those who had nothing to offer in return. Victoria made a decision. Marcus was cleaning the employee break room on the 7th floor when his supervisor found him 2 days later. "Webb, you need to report to the executive floor. Ms. Chen wants to see you." His stomach dropped. "Did I do something wrong?" Margaret's expression was unreadable. "Just go." The elevator ride up felt like it lasted forever. Marcus tried to think of what he might have messed up. Had he forgotten something in the conference room? Used the wrong cleaning solution on something expensive? Said something inappropriate during their brief conversation? He needed this job. He couldn't afford to lose this job. The executive assistant directed him to a corner office with a view that seemed to stretch across the entire city. Victoria Chen stood by the windows looking out. She turned when he entered. "Marcus, come in. Close the door." He did, his heart hammering. "Ma'am, if I did something wrong, you didn't." She gestured to a chair. "Please, sit." He sat, perched on the edge of the expensive leather seat. Victoria sat across from him, her posture relaxed, but her eyes sharp. "I've been thinking about our conversation," she said. "About your daughter, about what she did." "She's a good kid," Marcus said quickly. "Sometimes too trusting, but she saw someone in need and responded with her whole heart, even though it cost her something." Victoria leaned forward. "That's not too trusting. That's exactly what the world needs more of." Marcus didn't know what to say to that. "I want to offer you a different position," Victoria continued. "In our community outreach department, we're restructuring the entire program, and I need people who understand what it means to struggle, who haven't forgotten what it's like to count every dollar, to worry about making rent, to have to choose between being on time and being kind." He stared at her. "Mom, I don't have a degree. I'm a custodian. I don't have any experience in—" "You have the most important qualification. You raised a daughter who stops to help strangers in the rain." Victoria smiled. "The rest we can teach you. The salary is $65,000 a year, with full benefits and tuition assistance if you want to pursue a degree. Day shift, weekends off." Marcus felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. 65,000. He currently made 28. With benefits that barely covered Lily's asthma medication, day shift meant he could be there when she got home from school. Weekends meant he could actually spend time with her. "I don't understand," he said, his voice rough. "Why me?" "Because your daughter taught me something I'd forgotten. And because I think you understand the mission better than most of the people who've been doing this work for years." Victoria stood, extending her hand. "What do you say?" Marcus stood too, taking her hand. Her grip was firm, confident. His own hand was shaking. "I say yes," he managed. "Thank you. Thank you." The first few weeks were overwhelming. Marcus spent his days learning about grant programs, community partnerships, volunteer coordination. The work was completely different from anything he'd done before, and there were moments he felt like he was drowning. But his new supervisor, a kind woman named Patricia, who'd spent 20 years in non-profit work, was patient and encouraging. "You bring perspective we need," she told him when he apologized for asking too many questions. "You know what it's like on the other side. That matters." Slowly, he found his footing. He helped redesign the company's volunteer program, suggesting they partner with after-school programs, where kids like Lily spent their afternoons. He pushed for the food bank partnerships to include fresh produce, not just canned goods, because he remembered the shame of not being able to afford fruits and vegetables. He made sure the winter clothing drive collected items in all sizes, including work-appropriate clothes for job interviews. Lily noticed the changes immediately. Marcus was there to pick her up from school now. They ate dinner together every night, real dinners, not just cereal or sandwiches. He could afford to keep the heat at a comfortable temperature instead of bundling them both in layers. When she needed new shoes, he could buy them without calculating which bills to pay late. But the biggest change was in Marcus himself. For the first time in years, he felt like he was doing something that mattered. Not just surviving, but contributing, building something. 3 months into his new position, Marcus was coordinating a Saturday volunteer event at a family shelter when Victoria appeared. She wasn't dressed in her usual executive suits. Instead, she wore jeans and a Chen Industries volunteer t-shirt, her hair in a simple ponytail. She'd brought Lily with her. "Daddy!" Lily ran over, launching herself into his arms. "Miss Victoria said I could help today. Is that okay?" Marcus looked at Victoria over his daughter's head. She smiled. "I hope you don't mind. I saw her name on the drop-off list for the kids' activity group and thought she might enjoy being part of the main volunteer team instead." The shelter event was one of the new initiatives, monthly volunteer days where employees could bring their children to learn about community service. Lily had been excited about it all week. "Of course," Marcus said, setting Lily down. "Say, but you have to listen to the supervisors and stay where I can see you, okay?" "Okay, Daddy." They spent the day organizing donations, serving lunch, and running activity stations for the kids staying at the shelter. Marcus watched Lily play with the younger children, sharing toys and making them laugh. He watched Victoria work alongside entry-level employees, her hands dirty from sorting clothing donations, her face flushed from effort. At one point, he found himself working next to her, boxing up winter coats. "She looks happy," Victoria said, nodding toward Lily. "She is, we both are." Marcus taped a box closed. "I still don't know how to thank you for what you've done for us." "You thank me by doing the work, by remembering what brought you here." She paused, looking around at the busy shelter, the volunteers, the families being served. "You know, I've been thinking about that morning, about why your daughter stopped when no one else did." "She doesn't know any better," Marcus said, then immediately regretted it. No, you're right. She doesn't know better. She doesn't know that she's supposed to look away, to protect herself, to assume someone else will help." Victoria met his eyes. "She just knows how to be kind. And you taught her that." "Her mother leaving wasn't exactly a kindness," Marcus said before he could stop himself. He rarely talked about Jessica, and never to someone like Victoria Chen. But Victoria just nodded. "My father walked out when I was 7, she said quietly. "Left my mother with 3 kids and a mountain of debt. I spent my childhood watching her work 3 jobs, never complaining, always making sure we had what we needed. I built this company partly to prove I was worth staying for." She smiled, but it was sad around the edges. "Money doesn't fix that hole, though. I learned that the hard way." Marcus looked at her, really looked, and saw past the billions, the power, the magazine covers. He saw someone who'd been left too. Someone who understood. "Lily fills that hole," he said. "Every day. Even when she's driving me crazy or asking why for the 100th time, she fills it." "I can tell." Victoria returned to packing coats. "She's lucky to have you." They worked in comfortable silence for a while. Around them, the shelter hummed with activity and conversation. The smell of lunch being prepared drifted from the kitchen. Someone laughed. A child squealed happily. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said eventually. "That morning, when you were dressed as homeless, if Lily hadn't stopped, if no one had stopped, what would you have done?" Victoria considered the question. "I don't know," she admitted. "Part of me wanted to believe someone would see me, that all the values I thought I'd built into this company would mean something. But another part of me already knew the truth. We'd gotten too comfortable, too focused on profit and efficiency, and forgetting that business is ultimately about people serving people. And now I'm rebuilding what I almost lost," she smiled at him. "With help from a 5-year-old girl and her father." Over the following months, Marcus watched Chen Industries transform. The mandatory volunteer program launched, despite resistance from some quarters. The Compassion Fund awarded its first grants, including one to Lily's elementary school for a breakfast program, which Marcus had helped propose. The facility's staff received their raises, along with a formal apology from Victoria at a company-wide meeting for years of being overlooked. There was pushback. Some employees complained about the volunteer requirement. A few executives left, unwilling to adapt to what they called Victoria's bleeding heart phase. Industry analysts questioned whether the company was becoming too focused on social responsibility at the expense of growth. Victoria weathered it all with calm determination. Marcus admired that about her, the way she held firm to her values even when it cost her something. They'd developed an easy working relationship, She trusted his judgment on community programs, and he valued her business acumen and strategic thinking. They met weekly to review initiatives and plan new ones. Sometimes those meetings ran long, sprawling into discussions about parenthood, loneliness, ambition, fear. Marcus was surprised by how much they had in common. She was brilliant and driven, yes, but also funny and self-deprecating. She asked about Lily constantly, seemed genuinely interested in the small details of Marcus's life. She shared her own struggles, the isolation that came with wealth, the difficulty of trusting people's motives, the fear that she'd built an empire at the expense of a personal life. "Sometimes I wonder if I made the wrong choices," she admitted one evening. They'd stayed late, finalizing plans for a new scholarship program. Rain drummed against the windows. "I'm 43 years old. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes, but I eat dinner alone most nights. I can't remember the last time someone touched me with affection instead of deference." Marcus felt something shift in his chest. "Money doesn't make you happy, but it gives you options," he said carefully. "So the trick is figuring out what you actually want." "What do you want?" she asked, turning to look at him. He thought about it. 6 months ago, he would have said security, a decent job, enough money to care for Lily, health insurance. But he had those things now. And he was learning that having your basic needs met just revealed deeper hungers. "I want Lily to grow up believing the world can be good," he said finally. "I want to do work that matters. And," he hesitated, "I want to not be lonely anymore. I want someone to share things with. The small stuff, not just the big moments." Victoria held his gaze. Something passed between them, electric and terrifying and real. "Yeah," she said softly. "Me too." The shift happened gradually. Meetings that became dinner discussions, work emails that turned into late-night texts about books, music, childhood memories. Marcus introduced Victoria to Lily's favorite park, where they fed ducks and pushed swings. Victoria brought them to her favorite hole-in-the-wall restaurant, the kind of place billionaires weren't supposed to know about. Lily adored Victoria. She'd started calling her Miss V and would chatter endlessly about their outings. Marcus watched them together, Victoria patient and engaged, Lily uninhibited and joyful, and felt something warm and frightening grow in his chest. He was falling for her. Had been for months, probably. But the gulf between their worlds seemed impossible to cross. She must have sensed his hesitation, because one Saturday, watching Lily play at the park, she brought it up. "You've been distant this week," she said. Marcus kept his eyes on Lily. "Just thinking about how this doesn't make sense." He gestured between them. "You're Victoria Chen. I'm a guy who was cleaning toilets 6 months ago. You live in a penthouse in downtown. I rent a 2-bedroom in Renton. You could have anyone. I don't want anyone." Her voice was quiet but firm. "I want someone who sees me, who doesn't want something from me, who taught his daughter that $3 and a kind word matter more than stock options and quarterly reports." "Victoria, I know it's complicated. I know there are 1,000 reasons why it shouldn't work." She finally looked at him. "But I also know that I'm happier when I'm with you than I've been in years. That Lily makes me laugh in a way I'd forgotten was possible. That when I imagine my future now, you're both in it." Marcus's throat was tight. "I'm scared," he admitted, "of messing this up, of not being enough, of Lily getting hurt if this falls apart." "I'm scared too." She reached over and took his hand. Her palm was warm against his. "But I think being scared and doing it anyway is how we find the things worth having." Lily ran over then, breathless and grinning. "Daddy, Miss V, watch this." She proceeded to attempt a cartwheel that was more enthusiasm than technique. They both applauded. Lily beamed, then ran back to the playground. "So," Victoria said, her hand still in his. "What do we do?" Marcus looked at her, really looked, at the hope and vulnerability in her eyes, at the woman who'd disguised herself as homeless to understand her employees better, who'd given him a chance when he had nothing but a good kid and a desperate need. "We try," he said. "We take it slow, we protect Lily, but we try." Victoria smiled, and it transformed her entire face. "Okay, we try." 6 months later, Marcus stood in Victoria's penthouse apartment, helping Lily set the table for dinner. It had become their Sunday tradition, cooking together, eating together, being together. "Daddy, did you put the fancy napkins out?" Lily asked, very seriously. I did. Good. Miss V likes the fancy napkins. Victoria emerged from the kitchen carrying a roasted chicken. She'd learned to cook in the past few months, insisting that if she could run a billion-dollar company, she could master a recipe. The results were improving. They sat down together, the three of them, in the expensive apartment that was slowly becoming less of a showplace and more of a home. Lily's drawings decorated the refrigerator. Marcus's favorite coffee mug lived in the cabinet. Small, ordinary things that meant everything. "I have news," Victoria said as they ate. The board approved the community center project. "We're breaking ground in 3 months." "Really?" Marcus had been working on the proposal for weeks. A state-of-the-art facility in a low-income neighborhood, offering everything from job training to childcare to mental health services. "Really? It was your vision that sold them?" She smiled at him. "You're good at this, you know." "Better than good. I had a good teacher." He reached across the table, taking her hand. Lily watched them with satisfaction. "Are you guys going to get married?" They both laughed, caught off guard. "Lily," Marcus started, "Emma's mom says you're dating. And people who date get married, so are you." Victoria met Marcus's eyes, her expression soft. "Maybe someday," she said. "But if your dad wants to." "I want to," Lily announced. "Miss V makes good cookies and she reads funny voices." "High praise," Marcus murmured. After dinner, they settled on the couch, Lily between them, a book in her lap. Victoria read aloud, doing all the character voices. Marcus listened, his arm stretched along the back of the couch, his fingers brushing Victoria's shoulder. This was it, he realized. The thing he'd wanted without knowing how to name it. Not wealth or status or security, though those things were nice. But this, belonging, connection, family. The knowledge that he wasn't alone anymore, that Lily wasn't alone. That together they'd built something real and solid and good. Later, after Lily had fallen asleep in the guest room that was slowly becoming her room, Marcus and Victoria stood by the windows, looking out at the city lights. "Do you ever think about that morning?" he asked. "When Lily gave you the $3? "All the time." Victoria leaned against him. "It changed everything." "She changed everything. She has a way of doing that." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the rain streak the glass. Somewhere out there, people were struggling, hurrying past each other without seeing, missing the chances for connection that could transform everything. But here, in this moment, Marcus and Victoria and Lily had found each other. 3 people who'd learned that the greatest wealth wasn't measured in money, but in the courage to stop, to see, to offer what you had, even when it was only $3, and a hope that the world could be kinder. "Thank you," Marcus said quietly. "For what?" "For seeing us. For taking a chance. For remembering what matters." Victoria turned to face him, her hands coming up to frame his face. "Thank you for raising a daughter who still believes the world is worth saving, and for being brave enough to try this with me." She kissed him then, soft and sure, and Marcus kissed her back, tasting possibility and promise. Outside, the rain continued to fall on Seattle, but inside her, they'd found shelter in each other, found home in the most unlikely of places, found love in the space between who they'd been and who they were becoming together. And somewhere in the guest room, a little girl slept peacefully, her $3 still tucked safely in her piggy bank, a reminder that the smallest acts of kindness could change everything.